You know what? I'm doing my customers a disservice. I need to go work for a big broker, and that's what I did. So I applied for a company called Spectrum Financial. I remember my first day there back in '98. The owner gave me a desk, and on that desk was a phone, and that was it. No, not even a computer. And he closed the door and said, "Good luck," And
that's what he said.
That's what he said.
Wow.
I started in my house. I had an office in my house. She had come to my house. I went to Costco. Believe it or not, I went to Costco and bought a folding table. Those two folding tables.
The white ones.
Yes, the ones everyone goes and buys for Thanksgiving.
Did you get the benches as well?
Legit. I had a couple of chairs. And I was like, this is where we're going to start shop until I figure it out.
Wow.
And about a month later, I opened up my first office.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Alan K Show, brought to you by Modern Day Brokerage. And we have a very special guest today. Our show is all about entrepreneurs and business owners that are not timid, not fearful, take huge steps, being bold, not settling for anything average, and push through the adversity. And we have a perfect definition today, an epitome of someone who's not fearful, who is bold, who built a successful mortgage brokerage. I think the biggest brokerage in the country. We are welcoming, he's my business partner, he's my mentor, he's my friend, Mr. Trevor Barrett with Barrett Financial.
Well, thank you, Alan. I appreciate the the intro. It was very nice of you. So.
I was actually, you sent me some information about the company I was not aware of. Check this out, guys. And this is like eye-popping, right? Trevor's got right now 1,268 loan officers in the company, 1,500 employees. They did $4.5 billion in sales, funded loans last year in 2023. $4.5 billion.
Last year was a bad year for us, too.
And it was a bad year.
It was a bad year.
It was a bad year.
Yeah.
And then I think from A to Z, from start to close of each loan, on average, it's about 12 days.
12 days. It's actually 11.75 to be exact. So.
11.75 days from start to finish when it comes to the loans. And he's got 114 loan officers in the queue that are getting onboarded.
Yep.
And he's also licensed in 49 states. He's personally licensed in 49 states.
Just New York's the last one.
Just New York one is the one that's giving him a hard time, I tell you that.
And it's pending. It's been 3 years pending, but hopefully this year it happens.
So if you're looking to partner up with us in New York, just get on a waiting list because it'll probably take another 4 years. Just knowing New York. I actually grew up in New York.
New York's a tough one. So.
Surprisingly, I was thinking California is tougher, but I guess it's New York. For those people that are not familiar with you and not familiar with your company, kind of share with us how it all started.
Absolutely.
You started in 2002. 2002.
Yeah.
22 years ago.
Yeah. So, I'm born and raised in Arizona. I love Arizona. Grew up here, went to college here, went to Arizona State University. And when I was in college, I wanted to be a stockbroker. Back then, stockbrokers were kind of a big thing back in the 90s. And I'm like, okay, I want to be a stockbroker. And I went to, after I graduated from Arizona State University, they have a job fair at the arena there where they play basketball. And I went around, there's a couple hundred companies there, and every big company and every small company you can think of. And I was handing out my resumes to all the stockbrokers, all the big companies. And the last company that I saw had a booth there was a mortgage company. And I've been working for Wells Fargo Bank during that time, while I was in college. They helped finance or pay for some of my college.
So you got your Series 7 already?
No, I just graduated with a finance degree.
Yeah, okay.
But that was my next step.
Yeah.
Get my Series 7 and be a financial planner and all that good stuff. But I handed my resume to a mortgage company. It was called AmeriQuest Mortgage, and they were a big company back in the day. And I walked out of that arena and went home, and about a week passed, no one called me except for AmeriQuest. And I was like, wow, I guess maybe the stockbroker was not for me. So I went to go work for AmeriQuest. I actually really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I was there for about 5 months. I became one of the top loan officers there, and I decided to go work for a mortgage broker called Spectrum Financial. And that's kind of how I started my career in the broker world. And that was back in the late 90s. So
Late 90s.
Yep.
Okay, so you started with AmeriQuest.
Yeah.
You were there for 5 months, and within 5 months, as a brand new loan officer, straight out of college.
Straight out of college.
You became a top producing or top performing.
At
in such a
AmeriQuest,
short
I
period
was a top. Yeah,
How were you able to accomplish that in such a short period of time?
Back at AmeriQuest, they had these. They gave you a telephone and a bunch of people to call. Like they had these green sheets, and I just dialed for dollars. Like literally dialed for dollars. You know?
So this right here.
Right here on
That's
the
it?
telephone, dialing for dollars.
So you're calling like leads that like
I would
submitted.
call anyone.
Just anyone.
I'd get the phone
So
book
might
out
as
and
well
start
like just
calling.
like a phone
Yeah,
book, right?
yeah.
Okay.
And I did that 2 hours a day. I actually did it 4 hours a day. I did it 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. Like between, I think in the morning it was between 10 and noon, and the evening it was between 4 and 6. And it was called Power Hour. And those Power hours, I was only on the phone. Just, someone picks
Cold
up, talk
calling,
to them.
right,
Yeah,
cold calling, yeah.
Literally cold calling. So 4 hours a day, cold calling. The ones in the evening I found out were just better times to talk to people.
Sure.
And then,
So how were you able to we obviously are on a real estate brokerage. You have a real estate brokerage, obviously, in addition to the mortgage company, and cold calling is one aspect of it.
Yeah.
I remember building my real estate career back in 2013. I was cold calling expireds, cancels,
Yeah.
as well as for sale by owners. And when you talk to the agents, majority of the agents and probably loan officers as
Yeah.
well, they have this mental reluctance. They're just not willing to pick up this phone,
They're not.
right, and make those calls. So what was happening? Like you're 21, 22 years old.
I was young. Yep.
It's not like you had these skills. You didn't really
No,
have skills.
no.
You didn't do any
I had-
sales in the past,
No.
right?
No life skills yet.
How were you able to convince yourself? Because we all go through these mental blocks where we're worried about the rejection, we worried about confrontation. It happens to us.
Yeah.
How were you able to pick up this phone right here, a £1 phone, and start calling and getting I'm sure rejected?
I didn't care because I didn't know them. They're on a telephone call. It's like, who cares? It wasn't a face to face. It was over the phone, and so it didn't bother me. And it shouldn't bother anyone when you're on the phone.
Right.
Just be yourself. And just start and do it. Get busy and get started. Do it. So.
Got you.
And I'd say the majority of people hung up on me. I'm
So
not
majority
interested.
of people said no.
Yeah.
Okay, so when they're saying no, what are you doing? You just keep calling.
I go to the next
You just-
person.
Next one.
Because I knew that every 100 phone calls, 1 or 2, sometimes 3 people, I'd
You had a conversation with.
yeah, conversation,
Yeah.
whether it's a deal or
Right.
a prospective deal,
Right.
things were happening. So I'm like, okay, how many calls can I make today?
Got
See if
it.
I can make 400 calls, 600 calls.
So I don't know if you remember the numbers. I mean, how many closings, how many transactions at that time?
I don't remember. I just remember it was quite a bit.
It was quite a bit.
Yeah.
Got it. So after 5 months, decided to join another company.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
did you leave this, AmeriQuest? Was it AmeriQuest?
It was AmeriQuest, yeah. AmeriQuest Mortgage. They didn't have a big product offering. They offered subprime loans back in the day. They're called 228s or 327s, high interest rates, lots of points, and all that money went to the company. And I get this small little check, and I'm like, you know what? I'm doing my customers a disservice. I need to go work for a big broker, and that's what I did. So I applied for a company called Spectrum Financial. I remember my first day there. Back in '98, the owner gave me a desk, and on that desk was a phone, and that was it. No, not even a computer. And he closed the door and said, "Good luck," And
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
Wow.
But I did the same thing
So
then.
no training.
No training.
No coaching.
No coaching.
No online courses.
No.
None of that stuff.
Online really didn't exist
That's it.
at the
A
time.
phone and a
Yeah.
desk.
A phone and
Good
a
luck.
desk.
So
yeah.
who you called? Who did you call?
I started doing the same thing.
Same
I
thing.
got the phone book out and started calling
Phone
people.
book.
Phone book. Yeah. And then I got smart. Again, as when you're early 20s, I'm trying to figure things out in life. Like, how can I be successful in this business? At one point, I'm like, okay, maybe I should start calling real estate agents. Maybe I should start calling financial planners. So I started doing it. I started calling divorce attorneys,
Yeah.
And then I started calling some home builders, and the home builders are hard for me to get into. But then I looked into, okay, let me go into the small markets like Kingman and Cottonwood, and I started getting these little Yuma, Arizona, so these little tiny cities in Arizona, and I found a lot of success going after builders and a lot of contacts in those smaller towns versus trying to hit the Scottsdale, Arizona agents, So
So like there are a lot of loan officers and real estate agents that are struggling, right? It's been really, really rough in the last 15, 16 months, right? Like, what is when you're calling someone, let's say a home builder, or you're calling a real estate agent, right? What is your value proposition at that time? Like, you're like, again, a brand new loan officer, straight out of school, don't have any years of experience. Like, we've probably done maybe 10, 15 loans at max.
Yeah.
Like, what are you offering to them? How are you standing out, or how are you differentiating yourself from like experienced loan officers at that?
At the time, I would let people know I might not know all the answers, but I will find out all the answers. I will do I'll find out. I'll go ask people. I'll do trainings, whatever it is. I was always up front, and I over communicated on everything I did. And I feel like a lot of people don't really communicate well today. If there's an issue, they kind of hide behind the bush or behind the tree, and they don't want to, let people know. If there's ever an issue on a loan back in the day, even today, I let people know immediately, and we think about, okay, how can we overcome this, or what are the roadblocks we need to work around so we can make this deal happen. So.
Got it. So you were with this company for how many years with Spectrum?
So Spectrum from 98 to when I started Barrett Financial in February 2002.
So 4 years?
4 years.
4 years. What made you, or what motivated you to start your own shop, your own brokerage?
So at Spectrum, again, going back to that first day, it literally was a desk, a telephone, and the owner's name was Jerry. Jerry's like, this desk is going to cost you $1,850 to rent the desk.
How much?
$1,850.
$1,850 to rent the desk.
I had just bought my first house, a few months after that, and my mortgage payment on my first house was $600. So doing the math, I'm like, okay, my mortgage payment, my desk fee is 3 times as much as my mortgage payment. I got to get out of here. So,
were there any other fees on top of that, or
yeah, he had a bunch of other fees.
Oh,
on
really?
top
So
of
they're
that.
on top of that. So $1,800 plus.
All the loan officers made him a lot of money. Yeah, he was a multi-millionaire.
Really?
Yeah, from
really? Is he still around?
No, he passed away.
Oh, he passed away.
He was a great guy, great mentor, hardworking guy. He's a good entrepreneur, but yeah, unfortunately, he passed away.
Okay. Yeah. So what then, again, like 4 years later, what made you feel like you're ready to take the next step, which was like, all right, I got to start my own brokerage?
I knew, I wanted to grow. I had already grown, my clientele, my customers. I had all these relationships with real estate agents and financial planners and CPAs and divorce attorneys. And I just felt like I was stuck. It was the cost was too expensive there to grow. So when I left, I wanted to have my own processors, my own loan officer assistants, my own place that I can call mine and be in control of it, and that's what I did.
Okay, so started your own company in 2002. How many loan officers? How many admins? How did it look like?
So right off the bat, it's just me and my loan processor. That was it.
That's it.
I started in my house. I had an office in my house. She had come to my house. I went to Costco. Believe it or not, I went to Costco and bought a folding table. Those 2 folding tables.
The white ones.
Yes, the ones everyone goes and buys for Thanksgiving.
Did you get the benches as well?
Legit. I had a couple of chairs. And I was like, this is where we're going to start shop until I figure it out.
Wow.
And about a month later, I opened up my first office. So.
And how big was your first office?
It was probably 2,000 square feet.
2,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Got it. So started with a loan processor.
Loan processor, yeah.
i.e. assistant, right? And then how long did it take you until you started bringing in?
I had several of those
officers?
immediately, hey, I want to come work for you.
Gotcha.
We had the same comp plan I have today. I had then.
So you started. No way.
It's the absolute truth. I've not changed it.
Are you serious?
In 20 plus years, I've not changed it.
Did not deviate it, did not change it, did not update it.
No.
Which is like a flat fee, right?
It's a flat fee.
How much do loan officers pay right now per transaction?
They pay $595.
$595. Yeah. So at that time, you were charging $595.
$595.
And how many companies at that time were charging a flat fee?
None.
None.
Very few.
So, wow. So okay. Huh. In a real estate brokerage world, or more like everybody's just kind of following kind of the lead, right? Okay, if they're doing 80-20 split, I'll do 80-20 split. If they're doing 70-30, I'll do 70-30. If they're doing flat fee, they're going to do flat fee. What made you to decide to do opposite of what 99% of other mortgage companies at that time were doing?
So let me back up. So I did do a split. It maybe lasted a couple months. It was a 85-15 split. And I was
Yeah.
like, forget it. I'm tired.
Why
I was,
did you say forget
I was
it?
tired of doing the math. You know, I just wanted to get on with life. So I'm like, let's just do a flat fee, $5.95. That was it.
That was it.
That was it. Yeah. I was tired of, working on, because we had these LOs that they were coming on board. I was like, let's just keep it simple. And I wanted to keep it simple, easy and simple.
Okay.
And I wanted the loan officers to.
But some people would say, well, you know what? There's not that much money there to be made, though. Like, because, you have.
There's none in the beginning.
Right, exactly. So let's talk about that, right? I mean, 2002, 2003, how many loan officers did you have in 2002, 2003, 2004?
Not a lot. We probably had a handful of them, but it grew up to like, I want to say we had like 600-700 maybe by 2006 loan officers. We had quite a bit.
Okay, so you went from a handful
Went
to
to
like
0
600 and
to several hundred.
700
Yes.
in like 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you gotta share how you were able to do that. Though.
Well, it was just word of mouth because loan officers are like, because they're on these splits, you go to
Okay.
companies had desk fees or they had splits. And one word just, just kind of like a snowball, just got bigger and bigger and bigger and people would talk. So
So loan officers were just approaching you and saying, hey, you know what, I heard you're just doing a flat fee.
flat fee.
Let me join you.
I did not have a recruiter.
So
We
no
didn't-
recruiter,
No marketing out there recruiting LOs. Just
same office, 2,000 square feet,
no. We moved to a bigger office. We
bigger
had-
office space.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were bringing in 100 to 150 agents, 200 agents a year. Mm-hmm. I mean, not agents, loan officers.
Loan officers. Yeah. By 06, I think we had it was around 700 loan officers.
And how did it look in terms of your staffing? Like, how many people did you have on the admin side?
Probably 80 to 100.
80 to 100.
Yeah, to support them.
Support them. And these are the processors.
Processors, yeah, loan officers, assistants, payroll people, HR people. Everything a company has.
Got it. So at that time, it was you, right? And who was your second in command?
It's always been me. At that time, I brought in my brother Sterling. He helped me out.
So it was you and your brother,
Yeah.
right? And he was more like on the.
He was only admin, and he still
Admin.
does admin today.
But it was you and 600 loan officers.
Yes. No managers in between. Like that was it.
And you were still in production yourself.
Yeah. Still doing
So
production.
you're still originating loans yourself,
Yes.
and then you have 600 loan officers. How's that possible?
It was just a lot of hard work. Like it was a lot of hard work.
Oh, well, let's unpack that. I mean, when you say hard work, like there are people out there that work hard, right? But clearly, they don't have 600 or 700 loan officers.
No, and there's a lot of people that work hard, but are they willing to put the hours into it? Because you can work hard for 2 hours or 3 hours. But I was getting to the office at 6:30 in the morning. Stay until 6:30 at night. There's 12 hours I was putting in a day. Most people are putting 8 hours in a day.
And what were you doing during those 12 hours?
Just grinding away.
Like what?
Like like working my own deals, working on bringing people on board, like whatever I needed to do. Like it was literally grinding. Like there was no downtime. I enjoyed going to lunches just to get away. Like I'd try to take a 30-minute lunch. I don't do lunches today, but back then I had to get out of the office for 30 minutes just to, recharge my batteries.
Recharge your batteries.
Yeah.
And that was just lunch by yourself.
By myself.
No one
or-
else.
Usually I take my brother with me because
Your brother.
he needed to do
Okay.
it too. So
Okay.
we both go and go grab a quick sandwich, talk about, okay, here's what we need to do to tackle the second half of the day.
Got you. What about marketing? What about lead generation? What about compliance? I mean, who was handling any of all that stuff?
We didn't really like the loan officers. This is before pre-Dodd-Frank and all
Yeah.
the rules and regulations today. Back in the day, the rules were kind of loosey-goosey, so compliance, yeah, we're big on compliance, always have been big on compliance, but we're only in one state. Actually, we had California too, and California never did an audit back then. Arizona did 2 audits, and we passed with flying colors. I would hire outside consulting firms like that specialize in compliance. They'd come in and make sure that we were doing everything right. Always did that.
Yeah. Okay, so 2007, close to 700 loan officers. And then, of course,
Yeah.
the Great Recession
Yes. Yeah.
happens. So what happens then?
We scaled down. We took most loan officers left because business went to, from, it's like going 100 miles an hour down to zero. Most of them quit. Most of them went and did other things. We scaled down to about 80 loan officers through 2007, 8, basically 9. Then we went down to 40 and then down to 20. And those 20 are almost all of them are still with me today.
So you went from 700 loan officers to 20 loan officers in 2000.
During
2011.
By 2012, we were down to 20. Because it lasted a few years. It wasn't like.
So, like, as a business owner, right? Like, I can just, man, it's hard to really envision that because, I mean, here you are, build something special, 700 loan officers. I'm sure at that time you guys were doing at least 1,000.
Doing a lot of transactions a month.
A month, at least 1,000. And now, like, you're down to like 20 and probably doing like 20 transactions a month.
Pretty much of that,
So how were you able to overcome? And I just feel like there's so much like mental jiu-jitsu that you're doing, like a diversity that you go through. Like it's hard, man.
Those were hard days. Like 2008, 2009, 2010, even 11 were hard days. 2012 was a great year. But one thing I learned a long time ago, like in 2005, 2006, I remember someone told me, make sure you have zero debt. And this was when things were great. When money was flowing in, someone had mentioned, a mentor of mine said, hey, make sure you have no debt, save your money. And when we scaled down, we literally lived on those savings all those years. If I hadn't saved that money, we would have been out of business, like most mortgage, because most mortgage companies failed. Most of them went out of business. But during those times, we scaled down. We had a bigger office. We scaled down back to a smaller office.
Okay.
It was hard to let go of people, especially support staff, saying, I appreciate you're a great worker, you're a hard worker. Unfortunately, we just can't afford it during the Great Recession.
Okay. So when you were closing 1,000 transactions a year, your expenses were still
Yes.
at like you're closing 20 or 30
X,
or 40
yeah,
transactions.
yes,
X.
yeah.
Right. So when you say no debt, no credit card debt,
None.
none of that.
None.
Okay.
So
All right.
it's easier to, like when things are great, like back in when the pandemic hit and interest rates dropped to 2%, 3%, loan officers made a lot of money. And I kept preaching to them, save your money, because the highs will be higher and the lows will be lower. And you have to prepare for those lows. And those lows can last a long time. And so back in 2005, 2006, those are some great years in the mortgage business. Mm-hmm. I saved every penny, didn't have any debt. And so when the lows came, and the lows were really hard, and I did not expect the lows to be that low, when the recession hit, the Great Recession, but we were able to navigate through it and pivot and keep the doors open.
And you kept the price
$5.95.
$5.95.
$5.95.
All right, so things are started to really kind of like turn around like at around 2011, 2012, right? Okay, so from 2011 to 2024, kind of share your journey then.
Yeah. I remember like 2012, it was August of 2012, rates kind of took a dip. Most people don't remember that. I remember that because I made a lot of money back then, like rates made that, and I didn't expect it, but I was prepared for it. And we started to, I started to hire more people and, go from 20, now let's go to 22 or 25 people to prepare for things getting better, because I knew that we'd already bottomed out. Now it's time to grow. But from 2012 to probably 2018, I grew I kept it, we didn't grow as fast as we did because I didn't want to. I was focusing on my own production, and I was only focusing on bringing on really qualified loan officers that really knew what they were doing. So we got up to about 300 loan officers by 2018, 2019. And then by 2020, we decided to turn the faucet back on, and where we're at today at 1,500 employees.
1,500 employees. Yeah. And why did you decide to turn on the faucet?
The time was right. I felt like, okay, if we're going to do this again, let's go all out. And it was great timing because I didn't know there was a pandemic coming. I didn't know where interest rates were going to fall, but it was just, we were blessed to do it at the right time.
Got it. And how were you able to bring on so many loan officers in such a short period of time?
I hire great managers. This time I hired really good managers they're all in with the company. They're very loyal. They know our culture's great. They know our systems really well. And those managers help, build what we've got today.
Bill, what they got to.
Yeah. And then we take care of our people. We want to make sure
Sure.
that they're compensated well for, we're blessed as a company. We want to, give them blessings as well. So.
Got it. So if let's say, for example, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, like you've been doing this for a few years, and you're just, feel like you're stuck or you're not growing fast enough,
Yeah.
right? And almost kind of like it feels like, you make two steps forward and almost kind of like one step backwards, two steps forward and then two steps backwards, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone that has been doing this for a few years now, and just for some reason you're just not seeing the progress fast enough?
That's life. Life is all about ups and downs, whether it's in your business or in your personal life. There's two steps forward, one step back, two steps forward. But as you continually just to work at it and put your mind to it, eventually you're going to look back and go, oh, wow, I did make progress. A lot of people they're looking at, okay, they're not looking at the whole picture. They're looking at a small picture or a small fragment of time. Like just be patient and just keep working hard, and it will all work out in the end. If you put your mind to it and you work hard, you look back and go, oh, I did make a difference. We did grow from 5 employees to 12, or maybe it's 16 employees, whatever it is. It doesn't matter whether you have 1,500 employees or whether you have 4 employees, you can still have a very successful company.
Yeah. Were there days when you were just kind of like doubting, questioning,
Oh, yeah.
like, and saying, am I really on the right path? Am I really doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing? Like, you've been doing this for 22 years now?
Yeah. 22.
22
You're
years.
23.
How
Coming
are
up
you
here.
able to overcome those negative beliefs and negative thoughts? And like, especially like in the last year and a half, 2 years, man, so many agents going through so much hardship and so many loan officers go through so much hardships. I mean, we have clients that are brokerage owners, and you look at like their revenues, their transactions, they're all down as much as 40-50% last year, 2023, right? And it's hard sometimes to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So what do you tell them? What do you say to them? Because you went through 2007, 2008, you went through pandemic of 2020. Like, what do you tell the business owners, entrepreneurs, man? They're like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can pull through this, right? Like, how do you push through?
I still have those days. It just happened to me a couple of days ago. Like literally, like
It happened to you?
yeah, it still does. It's like, is this all worth it? Or it's like kind of feeling down.
And what
like,
did it trigger? Like, what did trigger you to actually like start asking yourself, like, is it really worth it? Why am I doing this? Was there any? I mean, I don't know if you want to share it or not.
No,
but-
it's just everyone has those days. I literally have those days. Like okay, and then I pull myself out of I call it the gutter or whatever it is. Like okay, Trevor, get your head out of the gutter and then start thinking positive. I'm all about having a positive attitude. Like we're big on that. That's a big culture thing at Barrett Financial Group. Have a positive attitude, and there's days that everyone has a bad day. And I had one of those just recently, and I was like, okay, let's get my head right and figure out what I need to do and then make a game plan, and I made a game plan for that day and then tackled it. And now I'm like, okay, I'm fired up to I want to be at 3,000 employees by the end of the year, and we're going to be at 3,000 employees by the end of the year. I'll do whatever it takes to get there.
Okay, so you want to double.
Yeah. We're onboarding 100 a month. So, but I've got, we have recruiters now helping me out. I just can't, because I can't do it by myself. But those days, everyone's going to have days of ups and downs and just regroup, whatever it is. Maybe you go to the gym. And,
Is that
work it out.
what you do? I mean, so you go to the gym. How do you regroup? I mean, like how do you like when you get into that funk, right? Like
It's easy to get in a funk.
it's so easy to get into that gap, right? Where like you become so negative and you're like, man, I just don't see how I'm gonna get out of this thing, right? How do you get out of that thinking?
Like for me, like when I get in a funk, I find myself not going to the gym. I find myself watching TV, eating nachos at 11 o'clock at night, or I can have a bowl of ice cream right afterward. And then I'm like, what am I doing? I can't live this way. I can't do that. So So now
So hold on, you go through that?
yeah, everyone does.
So
Well, at least I think everyone does. You know? It's one of those down points, and then you regroup, and like people like we just had January 1st. Everyone has these their New Year's resolutions. You know? And how many of you are really doing your New Year's resolutions today? You know,
Today, I tell you, I actually read the stat. By January 17, Trevor, 82% of the people that made their New Year resolutions are done with them. Like, in other words, it's already like they forgot about them.
Yeah.
Like by January 17th. So it takes about 2 weeks and 3 days, and 82% have already forget about them.
Like that's not how it should be though, you know. So, and I'm the same way. Like I said, I'm going to start a diet, and I've started the diet. I've started it 3 times since January 1st, and I plan on starting it again tomorrow. You know. But you got to get out of that funk, get out of that thing, just whatever it is. You know, for me, it's going to the gym in the morning and getting on a cardio machine and you know, and then when I'm at the gym, you know, I'm thinking about, okay, how am I going to tackle the day? What's crazy for me, when I'm taking a shower, I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to tackle my day? Like, these are the things I need to get accomplished so to be better, so I can grow, because we want to continue to grow.
All right. So you're in the gym. You're thinking how you're gonna tackle the day. You're taking a shower. You're thinking how I'm gonna tackle the day. What else are you doing? Do you have some sort of like a routine? Is it a morning routine or an evening routine? I mean, do you do any type of like writing, journaling, anything?
So I have an assistant. I have her put everything down. I'm always texting her or telling her this is what needs to be done for today or tomorrow or next week, whatever it is.
Where is she putting that information?
She puts it on my calendar,
On your
or
calendar?
in my notes. Yeah.
On your notes.
So
Okay.
she's not. So every morning she sends me a text of here's everything you need to get done today, and these are things that I've told her that I need to get done, and then I start checking them off the box, and ones that I don't get done, she's like, okay, she pushes it. Okay, you got to get it done tomorrow. So, but I give her those action items.
And how many things on average do you have per day that needed to be done, for example?
Oh, it's full. My whole day is full.
Like how many items?
There's anywhere from could be 5 and as high as 13 or 14. You know, like I don't go to lunch anymore because there's too many items on the list.
You don't go to lunch anymore. So you just eat at the office.
I'll eat at the office. You know, I'll go grab a snack or something. Or
That's pretty much it.
Fridays I try to go do something, but other than that, I just it's.
And what time do you get in office?
I get up early in the morning, and I start working from my house by 6, 7 o'clock.
By 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Got it. And what time you typically finish?
When I'm done.
Yeah.
I try to be done by 7 at night. Like I'm home and my wife wants me home at 6:30. I leave the office at 6:30. It's a 10-minute drive.
It's a 10-minute drive. Yeah. Okay. So you have this list of things that you got to do, right? And I think, like, for example, I have a tendency of having a list of things that you need to do, but then I only like complete 2 or 3 things. Yeah. And I feel kind of dejected. I feel like I kind of like wasted the entire day. You know,
it's easy to get distracted.
It's so easy to get distracted. So what do you do in those situations where you have like 15 things on the list, but you only accomplish 3 or 4?
So we have a big office, and Alan, you've been to the office. It's fairly big. We have a lot of people working there, and every day, if my door's open, people are walking by. They want to shoot the bull, and I don't get me wrong. I love jibber jabber, and I love talking to people. I love finding out how their weekend was, or what they did last night, or talking about the basketball game or a football game. I love all that. But I have to close my door in my office and focus on my work.
That's what you do. Mm-hmm. Got it. So the work that you do, I mean, if you don't mind sharing, like, what are the like top 2, top 3 things that are must? Like I know we got a can-do list, we got a should-do list, and then we got a must-do list. All right. The 2, 3, 4 things that on that list, like you focus on 90% or 80% of your time.
So as a big company, my job now, I'm the CEO. My job today is I look at government relations. We always have audits every day of the year. Like we have 7 audits with 7 different states. So I oversee, I don't oversee it, but I just make sure that the manager are doing their jobs right. So those regulators love us, because when a regulator has an exit interview, I'm a part of every one of those exit interviews, and they always say what a great job Barrett does. And so I always make sure that we're on par or on track to be fully compliant with our regulators. That's number 1 job for me. Number 2 is my relationships with our investors. We work with the largest lenders and banks out there. We're the number 1 broker for most of them. And so I want to make sure that those relationships are good. If there's any, maybe there's an early payment default or an early payoff on a loan, like there's an issue. I have managers that manage it, but I just want to make sure that those jobs are getting done so our investors are happy with us, because our investors love us. Like they love us because our average FICO score is high. Our average loan to value is lower than most people. But if we do have a loan go bad, because we do a lot of loans, and there are loans that go bad.
How many loans do you guys average per month?
Every month, anywhere from 1,200 up to 2,000 loans.
From 1,200 to 2,000 loans a month.
And it was higher than that before last year. These are last year's numbers.
Okay.
And so, but you do 1,000 loans a month.
There's going to be one or two.
There's always
bad.
one or two
Right,
that
right.
something happens or goes bad. Maybe it's fraud on a borrower or something, And so just making sure that we resolve those issues. So, and then my third job is to make sure that our relationships with our big, whether they're joint ventures or our big partners that are real estate companies like yourself, that they're being serviced to high, the standards are high for our service.
Got it.
So
those are the three areas that you focus on a daily basis.
Yep.
Those are your musts.
Those are my
Those are the
musts.
ones that are moving the needle forward
Yep.
for you. Got it. How about like meeting with loan officers, recruiting loan officers, any of that stuff? Is that something that you no longer?
I don't oversee. I oversee the manager that oversees that, but I'm not involved in it.
You're not involved with them. Okay. Got it.
Like we do have manager meetings. I attend. I would make sure that I'm always involved in that. I'm in the weeds. I like to be in the weeds. So we do like on Thursdays. I like our managers to go out and shadow our employees to make sure that they can see maybe we need to fix something. So our processing manager will shadow our processor. Our funding manager will shadow one of our funders, our post closing person, our people, our disclosure department. Our manager will go shadow one of the disclosure employees and make sure that there's always something they might know that's not maybe getting up. We want to get water all the way down to the end of the road. We want to make sure that we're doing things the right way, and maybe someone has an idea that we need to implement, and that idea is coming from the guy at the bottom, and I want to hear about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Okay. So one of the things that I go by, and I'm a huge proponent of it, believer of it, is the fact that I think one of the shortcuts to success is to surround yourself with people that have done what you're trying to do, right? Who are those individuals or were individuals in your journey in the last 21, 22 years that were important in be part of your journey, like mentors, maybe coaches, individuals that you leaned on?
So I like to surround myself with people that are smarter than me, people that are hard workers, like harder working than me, people that are more successful than me, and grab just little pieces of their ideas and implement them in my life. So it started off with a guy named Greg Olson. He's the one that said the highs will be higher and the lows will be lower. He runs a really successful construction company here in town, with hundreds of employees, and he's just super successful, hard-working guy, Another guy, Kelly Freeman, he's a farmer. He has lots of farms here in Arizona, and
What was your takeaway from Mr. Olson?
Like he's a hardworking guy. He's super smart. He doesn't multimillionaire, doesn't spend his money. Very humble, very just get out and grind every day, and you don't need to go out and flash your money. So same thing with Kelly Freeman, another multimillionaire. You think he has 2 cents in the bank and he's got millions in the bank. Those guys, I looked at those guys like, I want to be that. I want to be like them, hardworking, successful, two different, one construction, one farming,
Okay.
and we're all good friends. I'm in mortgage and we still, talk all the time,
So you're constantly talking.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're older than me. So I like to
They're
look
older
up
than
to
you.
yeah.
Right. Anyone else? Anyone in your own in your industry? In the
And then the
mortgage
industry, like today, like Matt Ishbia he's the CEO of UWM. He owns the Phoenix Suns. I look up to him. He's younger than me, but I really look up to him and respect him, and he's a mentor to me. I like to get feedback from him. So he sent out one of his top employees to come do to shadow my office for almost a week, and here's what you need to do better. Here's what Matt would tell you to do better. And
Really?
yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then whether it's Matt or any other big investors, I just met with a guy named Barrett. He's the CEO of New Res, and I met with the CEO of PennyMac, and like I know these CEOs of these other big companies, and I always like to grab, little tidbits of information from each one. So, kind of like a miner, a miner will grab little pieces of flakes of gold, and you get enough flakes of gold, and your pouch is full of big nuggets at that point.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you currently mentoring yourself, any CEOs or any entrepreneurs, maybe possibly even loan officers or real estate agents?
Yeah, so I have some people on my team, some managers. One, my son. My son just graduated from college with an accounting degree. I make all my kids, they have to go work somewhere else if they want to come work for me.
Why is that?
I want them to get the experience. Like if they come work for dad, then I don't want them to. They need to have a
Almost
real
kind
boss.
of take it for granted,
Yes,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he went to go work for Deloitte, one of the largest accounting firms in the country, if not the largest.
Yep.
And in the not only in the country, the world. They have 550,000 employees, but he's working 80 hours a week.
Yep. Yep.
And so when he comes over to Barrett Financial Group a year later, he realizes that he's got to work, and that he has a boss, and his boss, which is me. If I tell him to do something, he's got to do it. He just can't. Oh, Dad told me to do it. Like when he was a kid, and I'm going to take out the garbage, and he doesn't do it. Now he does it. So, and he not that he doesn't put in 80 hours a week, but he does put in a lot of hours a week.
So how many kids do you have?
I got 6.
6 kids and twins, right? You got
Two.
You got,
My last
you got
two are
two,
twins,
last
yeah.
2 twins. Okay, and I had a chance to meet, I think, your son, I believe so, and your daughter Paige.
Oh yeah.
And Paige runs she runs the JV division,
JV,
right?
yeah.
And I think her background is also in consulting, right?
Consulting, yeah.
I think she worked for PwC or
She worked for a big consulting,
Big
worldwide consulting. They're
Yeah.
all over the world. And again, she's another hard worker. She worked at a consulting firm 80 hours a week, and she's probably one of my hardest workers. Now, my son's great, but Paige, she'll outwork anyone.
Interesting. So, I guess, do you believe in education? Like
100%.
100%. I mean, what are your thoughts about individuals like kids nowadays? They finish high school degree, they get on college, they get all this student debt, they finish in some sort of a major, and then they get that 50,000 a year,
salary.
each salary,
And
now
$200,000
$200,000. I mean, what are your thoughts about like?
Oh, well, it's such a disservice for these young kids today because it wasn't like that when I went to college. And I told my kids, it's not worth, you don't need to go to this fancy college to get a good education, I went to a community college for the first 2 years, and my wife did too. And then we both graduated from Arizona State. Now my kids have been fortunate. They went to Brigham Young University, BYU, for 4 years. But whether it's a technical school, whatever it is, you want to be a mechanic. I have a nephew. He wants to be a mechanic. I'm like, hey, go to I can't remember ITT or whatever it is.
Yeah, one of those trade schools.
Yeah, one of the trades.
Yeah.
Go. What a great career. And you don't have to spend a lot of money on getting a college degree, but get an education there and learn about how to be a mechanic, and then go get a great job at being as a mechanic. And that what a great life to have. Just get an education in whatever it is, whether it's going to culinary school or whatever it is. Just be an expertise and be all in what you choose. But you don't need to go to a fancy school and spend a ton of money to get a good education.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. I mean, my wife, she got a degree, an accounting degree from City College,
Yeah.
Queens
Yeah.
College, and she worked 20 years for KPMG,
Yeah.
which is
One of the top
one
ones,
of the top accounting firms in the country. And she did work 80 hours a week, especially during the busy season and everything like that. So I get it. I had a different path. I actually went to college for like a year and a half or so, but then I realized college life was not really for me. I went for marketing. I was so lost as an 18, 19-year-old when it comes to education. I didn't really have any mentors, and it was just, I actually wanted to become an attorney, but every person that I spoke to at that time said, well, attorneys are really not making that much money. They're driving cabs. You're probably better off doing something else. So I just listened to them and didn't really pursue anything with law or anything like that.
Yeah.
But that's really was my dream initially.
That's funny because I wanted to be an attorney too.
You wanted to become, yeah.
But when I worked at Wells Fargo, I saw the attorneys come in. I'm like, some of them made a lot of money and some of them didn't make any money.
But I think, isn't that the case pretty much in any field if you think about it?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? I mean, same thing, for example, what in a mortgage world, in a real estate world,
Yeah.
I mean, you have some agents and some loan officers make pretty good money, and you have most of them are just not making that much money at all. Like I was reading the stat, per NAR, National Association of Realtors, there are like 1.6 million agents out there, and there were like 4 million transactions last year. So if you like divide that by number of agents, we're looking at about 3 transactions per agent, and the average commission I think is like $8,000 or $9,000. So it's like less than $30,000.
You're not making any money.
You're not making that much money at all. Then there was another stat that I read, like 42 or 43% of the agents last year did only like 1 transaction the entire year.
Wow. How do you survive on that?
How do you survive on that? Right? But then you can apply the same exact logic to pretty much any other, industry out there or field out there, right? You have the top 10, the top 15, top 20.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, you're aspiring loan officer, or you're a loan officer that just recently got licensed. Obviously, things been really, really tough. I think there are like about 7,500, 8,000 loan officers in the state of Arizona.
There's yes.
And there are like
sounds about
50,000
right.
real estate agents. But anyway, so let's say like you got a loan officer, are you trying to kind of like either jumpstart your business or trying to get your business to the next level? If you don't mind, I mean, you have so many years of experience and you mentor so many loan officers. I mean, what would that person have to do to really get their business going right now?
So like I will literally take some of my loan officers that are struggling and sit down with them. I take a group of them every year. In fact, we had one last year or 2 years ago that made less than $80,000. Last year he made $350,000. I sat down with him, mentored him. Here's what you need to do to be successful.
So last year in 2023, which
in 22 he didn't make as much. Now in 23 he made a lot more. So,
okay, so when the business has been down by as much as 40-50%, how was he able to go from 80,000 to 350,000?
So I told him, hey, you got to get out and work. You can't just goof off. You got to stop going on the golf courses, get up earlier. Go to bed earlier. But I told him, hey, you got to be unique. And so we had some action plans. He went and hit banks. He'd go to banks. I said, you have to hit 10 banks a week.
Why banks?
Because banks have turn downs for loans.
Okay.
You walk into a bank, a borrower walks in, they're self-employed, they can't do W-2s, they have bank statements, and most banks don't do bank statement deals. And so I'm like, go get those turn downs from those banks. So he was getting a lot of loans from banks, the turn downs, the deals that the banks couldn't do, we could do them, Mm-hmm. And then I told him, hey, be creative, go out and do something that, like, one of our loan officers does a great thing. He'll find out what their shoe size is of the guy that runs the building company, and he'll send them a shoe in a box, like a nice shoe from like Nordstrom's, and then there'll be a note that says, hey, I got my one foot in the door, I'd like to get my other foot in, I'll bring you the other shoe, just being creative, doing something different.
So why builders?
It could be anyone.
And these are national builders, or these are like
national,
small?
both local,
okay.
local.
Trying to get. Yep.
It's just being something different that catching someone's attention, because that builder would have never talked to that LO had he made a phone call.
Okay.
But being creative to get into a big account like that, and now he has that account today.
Yeah.
Where he wouldn't have had it had he done something creative. So it's just thinking out of the box. We have a loan officer a female that she takes female real estate agents to learn how to self-defense, like shooting classes at a gun range, and gets an instructor. And a lot of these real estate agents are like, hey, I want to learn this, And so what a great, unique way to grab real estate agents, just thinking out of the box, doing something different, but still working hard. Like that loan officer that does the 10 banks a week, he's putting in place stuff like that. Okay, how can I get into real estate agents? How can I, what can I do to be creative to get my foot in the door? Because bringing donuts and some flyers isn't going to do it.
It's not going to do it.
No.
Right, it's hitting the pavement.
Yeah.
Like hitting the pavement, going and meeting with, 10 banks in a week, which is doable.
Doable.
I mean, you can hit 10 banks
two
in a
today,
day. In a day, you can do it.
Yeah, and sometimes there are times he'll tell me, I did 8 banks today, and got 6 deals.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I'm assuming the point of contact in the bank would be another loan officer.
Yeah, another loan officer. And that's an easy
one.
Yeah. It's you're already in the industry, you know who you're talking with, you can speak the lingo. So it's a great way to pick up business as a loan officer.
Okay. Now, on average, your loan officers, how many deals do they close a month?
They're required to close 2 to 3 deals a month at a
So
minimum.
if they're not closing 2 to 3 deals a month, what happens with them?
If we can't help them, like we can't, like if there's no potential, like we can't mentor them, that then we will let them go.
You're gonna let them go.
Yeah,
So they're costing you money if they're not producing.
yeah, because it costs
So if
us
they're
money
only
to.
doing 1 deal a month, for you, it does just not suffice.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
You're
for
not
us.
making money.
No, we lose money. So at Barrett Financial, we want to make sure our loan officers are closing deals, because the loan officer that's closing deals, they bring synergy, and that synergy helps the culture, or it's part of our culture. And our loan officers, they have a Facebook back page, a back room is what we call the Facebook back room. And they're feeding off that, like, hey, their wins, and other loan officers like, hey, I have this is a unique loan here. What can I do? And top loan officers in the country will chime in, and they're not asking anything for it. They want to help others grow. And our loan officers do like mastermind classes. It's great. They do them. We flew them in earlier in January. Let's do a big mastermind class for a lot of our loan officers. We had a big one in August last year. We flew everyone in. Here's what this guy's doing. Here's what she's doing, and everyone can take these great snidbits and run with it. So.
So I guess.
And they don't ask. What's crazy is a lot of people and I don't know how real estate is, but a lot of other mortgage companies will be like, well, if I'm going to help you do this deal, I want half the commissions. That doesn't happen at Barrett Financial Group. It's like, I'm going to help you, and I don't expect anything in return for it, And there's a culture about that, and people love it. They love working for us because of that, because they can go, I can get help, if I'm feeling down, I can, get brought up. And that's one thing, like when I'm feeling down, I'll go hang around with people in my office, open my door up and start talking to people. I get fired up again. Like, okay, I'm ready to go hit it again. Because that's our culture, is work hard. We're really big on money follows success, It's not about the money. If we can be successful, the money will come.
That's right. That's right.
And
money follows success.
And we always do the right thing. Like, we're big on giving back to the community as a company. We give a lot back to the community. In fact, it's required. It's part of when you have a job interview at Barrett Financial, what have you done to give back to the community? I don't care what you give back, whether we want you to give back, whether it's time, maybe you can help out and finance, help a basketball team or whatever it is, a sports team, maybe sponsor some, but giving back, I really prefer time, hey, get involved, So we have a big thing at Barrett Financial. Barrett gives back, and that helps out our culture as well as everyone, posting, hey, I did this or I did that to give back to the communities all over the country.
Wow. Okay, that's pretty impressive. So you want to get to 3,000 employees by the end of the year, right?
Yes.
Which is, I mean, but then again, with your track record, I'm not doubting that at all. But 5 years down the road? Where do you see yourself 5 years, 10 years down the road?
Yeah, so I plan out, I always plan out 5 years. I don't go 10 because I can't really see, but I always have a game plan for 5. I have a game plan so I do a game plan every month. Here's what we're doing for this month. We do a 30, 60, 90, 180, and a 1-year game plan, and then we do all the way to 5 years.
Well, what does
that
it
make
look
sense?
like when you say game plan 30, 60? So you just sit down and you just write down the things that you're going to be focusing on
And
for the
then I
next
get
30
my
days?
team and I'm like, okay, here's what we're going to do. So we just had a team meeting this week on Tuesday. Hey, okay, here's what we're, in the next 90 days, this is where we need to be. Here's where we need to be by summertime, and here's where we need to be by the end of the year. And everyone has their goals. They have to report back on their goals. We put posters up of what everyone's goals are, so it's just not, you wrote it down and threw it away, a week later, we post them.
So is it department specific when it comes to these goals, or it's like one major goal or main goals? Like,
It's
hey,
both.
It's both.
Both.
Okay.
Like, you walk in my office, I said in 5 years, I want 10,000 employees, 10,000 loan officers. They're on my credenza is a customized plaque that says 10,000. Because I see that every day. Okay, how do I get to 10,000? This year I need to be at 3 to get to 10, 5 years from now.
And why is it important for you to be at 10,000 in the next 5 years?
Just growth. We want to grow.
Growth.
Yeah,
You want to continue to grow.
Yeah. We feel if you're not growing, you're stagnant. If you're stagnant, you're just. So this year, our like everywhere we have like a saying, and throughout the years, it's always been make it happen. But this year, it's average sucks. So if you work for my company, everyone knows that average sucks. It's easy to be average. Average is staying at 1,200 employee or 1,500 employee, 1,200 loan officers, 1,500 employees.
1,200 loan officers is average.
To me, that's average. That sucks. You know, I don't want to be average. I can be average.
Well, it's like you're looking at the ocean, right? Ocean is constantly moving, right? It's constantly hitting. You know, it's always in motion, right? It's the same thing with human nature. Like you have to be constantly moving, and ideally moving in the right direction,
Yes.
in growth mode, versus just being stagnant. When the water is stagnant, what typically happens with that water? Because
It gets dirty,
dirty,
yeah.
green, and all of that stuff,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
has to be
same
moving.
thing.
Yeah. So we want to grow. Everyone knows our saying this year's average sucks. Let's not be average. You know, let's grow and make it happen this year to succeed and be better than where we were last year.
But I mean, if you think about it, look at the numbers, and I don't have the exact numbers as far as like across the nation, but you're probably the biggest mortgage brokerage in the nation.
We're the biggest when it comes to deals. We do more volume.
Okay, but not number of loan officers.
No, there's a competitor down the street, but he's got twice as many loan officers, but his loan
But they're
officers,
not doing as many deals as you
they
are.
don't do any deals, you know?
Interesting, which is a different approach. So for them, it's more about just getting as many bodies as
Yeah,
possible.
his is a multi-level marketing approach, and you know, the guy on the top makes all the money, and the guy on the bottom doesn't make any. That's not our how we operate. It's not our model.
Right.
You know, our model is hiring successful loan officers that work with real estate agents and real estate companies and builders and financial planners and divorce attorneys and CPAs that our loan officers work. They're hard workers.
And was it always the case, or you got to that stage where you were successfully attracting top producers, successful loan officers? Like in the first 4, 5 years as Barrett Financial, 2002, 2003, 4, 5, 6, were you always attracting successful loan officers or
like
no?
we always wanted to. Like we always go after like the top, the best of the best. And I remember at the very beginning, I'm like, okay, how can I be the Harvard of hiring loan officers? I want like really, I don't want to use Harvard today, but back then I used Harvard. You know, like I want to be the Harvard. I want to make it so it's exclusive to come into Barrett Financial. Like, oh, I work at Barrett. Like that's what we want. We want people to like, it's hard to get into Barrett. It's hard to work for Barrett. You know, you have to be a top LO to work for Barrett. And that's what we want today, and that's what we have today. Like we don't let anyone in. If you're a newbie, you're not getting in. If you're
a newbie, you're not getting in. Unless you're like part of a team.
Unless you're part of a team, and then
team.
we'll allow that in because now you can have a mentor and a coach to help you through. But if you come to Barrett Financial and you just got your license, we're not gonna take you. We want someone that knows what they're doing. That's experience. It's got built their business, a book of business they can bring in because they're gonna add value to our company.
Okay, and this is all started in 2012, 2013 for you. Like, okay, we're gonna up our standards.
Yeah.
Right, and we're going to hire people that are actually like producing, serious, committed to this, right? But in the early stages of your business, right? Obviously, you did not have the name, did not have that recognition, did not have that brand. All those loan officers that you were bringing in.
So, like in the beginning, like for me, like let me go back to my business. Like when I started in the business, when I started back in the '90s. I wanted like, oh, I want to be like that loan officer. There's a loan officer, his name was Mark, and Mark would do these multi-million, well, back then they weren't multi because, you know, back in the 90s, you know, $1 million deal was like unheard of, but he would do these big deals in Scottsdale, and I couldn't get into those deals. So I'm like, I just need to start doing deals. And I started doing manufactured homes. I didn't care. I just wanted to do deals, you know? And you do enough manufactured homes, next year you're doing regular deals, and then eventually I got to those bigger deals. Does that make sense? Like you got to start at the bottom. And
Yeah, you got to start
up.
somewhere, right? Yeah. Exactly.
And for me, starting at the bottom was doing manufactured deals and those outlying areas of outside of the Phoenix metropolitan area.
Yeah.
And then I finally got in where people are noticing, oh, this guy's doing some deals, you know?
Right.
You know.
So what you're saying is, if you do more, eventually you'll do better.
Yes.
And that applies to pretty much everything else in life?
Everything, yeah. For me it is. And then learning as you're growing, as you're doing deals.
Iterations, getting
Yes.
better. Yeah.
You have to keep learning and knowing what new products are, knowing what guidelines, whatever it is, you have to keep growing. So a lot of loan officers, and it's probably the same with real estate, they're not reading up on what the newest guidelines are or whatever it is or what's out there, what products are out there. You got to be on top of your game. So when people come to you, they know they can trust you. And if they don't, and there are times today, even today, if I don't know the answer, I'm going to go find out. You know, I'll make a couple phone calls. I'll be educated. So when I talk to them the next time, I'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. I probably have a couple of more. You're okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
What really motivates you to get up from bed every morning? Like, what triggers you to, like, like when the sun is up or before the sun is up, man, like getting up from bed, like look, you accomplished a lot. Like, you've been doing this for 20 plus years. You built a successful multi-million dollar company. You guys funded $4.5 billion worth of loans last year. You have 6 kids. You got a wife. I mean, you got everything, pretty much, right? If you think, like, what motivates you to, like, why not just say, you know what? For the next month or 2, 3 months, I'll just take it easy. I'll just go rent a beach house somewhere in Florida and just take it easy and relax. What motivates you to get up every single morning and do it?
The truth, Alan, is when I was in college, I told myself when I turn 50, I'm going to retire. I'm going to retire when I turn 50. That was my goal. It has been my goal since when I was a young kid, retire at 50. My parents, my dad, he didn't have that. Like, my dad worked his whole life, until the day he died.
What did he do?
It's construction.
Construction?
Yeah.
Wow, hard work.
But yeah, hard work. He didn't go to college, But and I was fortunate. My dad was, like, hey son, you need to go to college, And I was glad my parents didn't force me, but encouraged me to get an education, And they never told me what to do in life. They just, just go get an education and you'll figure it out, But when I was in college, I wanted to retire at 50, and I made a lot of good money in the mortgage business, a lot of good money. And I remember when I was getting ready to turn 50, my wife and I sat down with a financial planner, and the financial planner's like, you don't ever have to work again for the rest of your life. And I'm like, okay, great. I already knew that, years ago. But my wife and I sat down. We've been married for 30 years, 6 kids, and I thought, her and I discussed this. What am I going to do? If I stop working, am I just going to be sitting on the couch eating bonbons and watching soap operas? And that's not the life I want. I want to grow. And so it's not about the money today. It's about growing something and making something great, And so I decided, I'm going to go work for another 5 years. And we made that decision when I turned 50. Let's just go 5 more years. And then a year into it, I said, you know what? I told my wife, I'm going 10 more years. And the reality is, I told the other day, I'm going to go to probably I'm 75, 80 years old, It's about doing something and making a difference. Because for me, when I come to work and I see that we have 1,500 employees and the lives that, our payroll's $100 million payroll, and it's changing people's lives for the better. We've made millionaires, made loan officers into millionaires. We made our support staff that people that didn't have anything have something, Yeah. It's just that to me, like, brings me joy and satisfaction. But more than anything, it's my family. Like, I do it for my family. I want my family to, like when I'm with my family, I'm with my family. I will put my phone on airplane mode because they're the most important thing to me.
Yeah.
And so we can enjoy, we take vacations, I try to take a couple vacations a year, whether it's my wife and I, whether it's a weekend trip or my kids, I got married kids now too, and some grandkids on the way, just whatever it is, whether it's a dinner or a weekend at home barbecuing, just focusing. I do it for my family.
Right. So you mentioned that you've been married for 30 plus years, right? I've been married for almost 24 years. So March 28th of this year is going to be 24 years. And, I get questions asked, what made you, like, where you at right now in terms of the success and the business ownership and everything that's going on? And I say the biggest reason is my wife.
Yeah.
Like, she's always been supporting me. She always had trust in me through ups and downs. We went through a lot of downs in our lives in the last 23 years. I mean, in 2007, 8, and 9, I lost everything. I was $500,000 in debt. Speaking about debt, I mean, I made completely opposite what you did. So I accrued a lot of debt and I got screwed royally, but it's a learning lesson. I will definitely never do it again, right? It taught me a lot of lessons. But she's always been there for me, right? And that's so important because, there are relationships out there where it's not the same, right? Where the wife is not supporting or she's questioning every single move, and poor husband is afraid to make those moves or take those risks because he's constantly thinking what she's gonna say. I'm assuming your wife is the one who's been supporting you
100%.
100%.
Yeah.
So when you tell her, hey, I'm not going to retire until I'm 75, 80 years old, and she's like, wait a minute, I've been stuck with this thing. Because a life of a business owner, an entrepreneur, man, it's a hard life. You're constantly thinking, your brain is constantly going, you're trying to be present in the evenings, and it's hard to do so. It's
hard.
It's hard, right? And wives are there, to obviously support you and kind of. But what does she say in those situations when you say, hon, I'm going to be working until 80 years old. I'm going to run a business until 80 years old.
So we were talking about last night. It's funny because last night my wife and I were talking about this. I'm like, hey, I'm going to work for a long time, and she's like, well, you know what? We're going on vacation. You're going to take me to Switzerland this year. My wife will she knows and she knows when I get home from work, I just want to veg out for the first 30 minutes, decompress, get away from, the stressful day of life. It doesn't matter what you do. Life's stressful,
Yeah.
I want to sit down and watch a ball game for the first 30 minutes just to relax a little. But I got a great wife, and she's supported me. And whether it's a spouse or a life partner, whatever it is, good friends or siblings, family, whatever it is, just have someone that will support you throughout your life. That because you're gonna have those ups and downs. You need someone that's gonna be there for you. And then when you're working a lot, that they can be by your side when you need them, and be by their side when they need you. So my wife said, hey, then she wants that time where it's just me and her in Switzerland for a week. So we're going to go do it, whether it's Switzerland or even going to Sedona. I don't care where it is, going to San Diego for a weekend and just doing something with her. So she knows that how much I value her, and I do,
Does she work?
She does not.
She doesn't work.
No. It's a full-time job being at home. I think. If there's a
yeah.
mom at home, that's a full-time job, and it's harder job.
It's harder job than just
way
going.
harder.
Absolutely, I get it. Awesome. Well, if let's say someone wants to connect with you, get in touch with you, I know you're super accessible. How do they connect with you? Is it social media platform, Facebook? I don't know if you're on Facebook or you're
someone's
Instagram.
connected with me. They can call me.
Yeah.
I have a personal assistant named Sophie. They can get a hold of Sophie. Sophie will get them on the calendar.
Yeah.
My day literally is every hour she's got something for something. I'm either meeting something or doing something. But yeah, they can connect with me on social media or email or text or whatever it is.
And if let's say they want to join your company, go on your website?
Just go on our website. Yeah.
Go on your website.
We have a recruiting team that will bring them on, an onboarding team.
Got it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I enjoyed this conversation. I appreciate your time. And
thank you.
I know you're super busy. You got a lot of things going on, but it was very informative, and hopefully it serves you guys as entrepreneurs, as business owners. You got a demand right here.
Yeah.
This guy right here.
Well,
Trevor Barrett.
I look
Barrett
up to you.
Financial. Oh no. When I want to grow up, I want to be like this guy right here.
But see, I want to be like you.
Oh, no. Yeah. But man, I appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll do it again.
Yeah, appreciate you, Alan.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.